Call the meeting to order. And we will have eventually Commissioner McDonald on the phone. Note that I'm chairing this meeting because Commissioner Carter is out of the country. So I call for a motion and a second to grant a leave of absence to Commissioner Carter and Levy.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I'm calling for a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting on May 10th, 2017, and the special commission meeting on May 23rd, 2017. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So,
Commissioner Chamberlain,
yes.
I think your microphone may be turned off.
We just need to get it closer.
I need to get it closer. I apologize. Thank you. So today is Bill Wyatt's last commission meeting, and I think it's appropriate to take a few moments to reflect on a few of his accomplishments here at the port. To briefly set the stage, let's turn back the clock to 2001. Our port was a little smaller, and you could arguably say the world was a little friendlier. Portland International Airport served nearly 6 million passengers less per year than it does today, and was only international by virtue of a nonstop service to Vancouver, Canada. Portland businesses were clamoring for nonstop air service to Asia, Europe, and other international destinations. The Columbia River Navigation Channel was in critical need of deepening to accommodate even larger ships serving our marine terminals and supporting trade in the region. In Troutdale, a brownfield called Reynolds Aluminum sat vacant with little hope of any future use. And like always, our region was hungry for more industrial land. Our headquarters was located in downtown Portland, adding downtime to conducting important business at the airport and splintering our communications between divisions. And the world as we knew it changed in a heartbeat with the terrorist attack on U.S. soil on 9/11. And then Bill Wyatt enters the stage, arrived at the helm at one of the most chaotic times in our histories, just a few days after 9/11. And remember, TSA was not created yet. The top contender in the executive director's search at the time, Bill had just served 7 years as governor, as chief of staff. And as Bill likes to say about many of our accomplishments and our complex projects, if it was easy, someone would have done it already. And so launched the theme for his challenging and successful career at the port. Over the years of his nearly 16 years here, Bill, his team, and 3 generations of commissioners achieved some remarkable accomplishments. And I'm just going to name a few. Today, PDX, for the 4th consecutive time, is the best U.S. airport as rated by Time and Leisure magazine. PDX now serves 18 million travelers annually and offers 12 international nonstop flights. Actually 13 if you count Cathay Pacific Cargo. And the stage is set for more than $1 billion in airport improvements to serve our customers of the future. Meanwhile, Hillsborough Airport, a premier aviation center in its own right, has a new runway and is the 2nd busiest airport in the state. Collectively, we're benefiting from the deepening of the Columbia River Channel and investments of more than $1 billion by ports in the lower Columbia. Our marine auto imports and exports are booming, and auto facilities are expanding. Bulks are strong in every way. Terminal 6 container service remains vexing. However, recent termination of the ICTSI lease and creative thinking leaves containers open again for new possibilities. And that old aluminum plant in Troutdale became the state's largest brownfield redevelopment ever and is now Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, serving FedEx and Amazon. A few miles away, Gresham Vista provides an additional new industrial land, housing Subaru and continuing to attract development interest. Our now consolidated operations are in a LEED Platinum headquarters office, improved our communications, showcases our environmental philosophy, and is a model for sustainable development around the world. All along the way, Bill has stayed true to our mission of getting people and products where they need to go locally and globally. And on that pathway, he has emphasized the importance of industrial priorities in bringing jobs and the need for a substantial approach in all our activities. Bill, you are a remarkable leader. You have served our community well. You are right that if it was easy, someone would have done it already. Thanks for taking on this challenge.
Thank you.
And I also would like to read a statement from Chair Carter. Unfortunately, I'm out of country and not able to be in attendance for the last commission meeting with Bill before he retires. It's not that Bill needs another requiem of his achievements as a port leader, but I need the opportunity to thank him publicly for his leadership at the port and in Oregon more generally. Bill is driven to success to work relentlessly for the intended outcome once a decision is made. And success for him means good people doing their jobs really well to make the port a big contributor to Portland and Oregon's economy. It means being connected to Oregon's public officials and business leaders to counsel them or learn from them regarding important decisions that affect the port and Oregon generally. The people at the port, employees, consultants, tenants, community partners, contractors, TSA, and most important to Bill. He loves to be with these people in the airport, on the dredge, and on other operations at the port. He thrives on knowing that they are and what their jobs are. He makes a decision based on what he believes to be the collective best interests of those most affected by port operations. Bill's legacy at the port will not be just specific projects or visible evidence of capital projects. It will be about relationships that have produced good outcomes from a very important public asset, the port. His legacy will also be the people who will continue to keep the port vibrant and fulfilling its mission. On behalf of the Commission, we share our tremendous gratitude with you and wish you the very best in the next chapter.
Thank you. Let's be careful not to turn this into a Donald Trump cabinet meeting here.
Oh, jeez.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you read the paper. Well, thank you very much. It's really great to see these pictures back when I had dark hair, and to see some of the photos from the downtown office building, which seems like it was 100 years ago. And I'm looking, at our director group. So Vince and Keith and Stan were the only ones who had offices in the downtown building. We've obviously had 3 generations of commissioners, but about that many of my own direct reports, who I'm very grateful to, and I'm looking forward to seeing those who've retired as well. We've got a couple more events, and I know my executive team is anxious for the 30th to arrive so they can stop attending Bill Wyatt memorial events of various sorts. It has been just a great run, and I have to say I'm so appreciative of the commissions that I've had the chance to work with, and there are pictures up here of all of them. It's a very unusual kind of relationship in many respects. You're the board of directors for this enormous enterprise, and I'm the only person you hire in the course of all of that. And it's been fantastic, and I think I want to say publicly how much I appreciate the process that you employed to select my successor. I'm excited about that. I've known Curtis for 23 years. I was calculating this the other day. And I've had the chance to watch him grow and develop throughout his career, and I think he's going to be a terrific executive director. And the employees know him and have great confidence in him. When I started here, the port had been without a full-time executive director for a year, and it was very disruptive. And I think that this will be a terrifically smooth transition. Yeah, it is pretty amazing to go back to 2001 and just kind of remember what was happening, what the issues were. And one that isn't mentioned because people have sort of forgotten about it, the first issue that we had to contend with is whether or not we were going to default on about $600 million worth of debt because the airlines weren't flying and were already poised on the edge of bankruptcy. So it was a very different time. And to kind of fast forward to where we are today, I think the thing that I feel best about is just the extraordinary workforce that we have here at the port. They're terrific people. They're passionate. They love what they do. That's why they're here. And it makes jobs like mine a lot easier and a lot more fun. And it has been fun. Not every single day, but most days, to be sure. Someone typed some notes for me and said, gee, what a bittersweet moment. It's my last executive director report. And I just don't use the word bittersweet to describe this. Really, it is all sweet. I've had a great experience here. It is time to move on. As have grown fond of telling people, either you pick the moment or the moment's going to pick you. I'm grateful that I got to pick my own moment to leave and literally and physically hand the keys to somebody else, and I expect to be active in the community. So you probably will see or hear from me in other ways. But to each of you, thank you very much for your service to the port. You're not compensated for this, I know, and I think you're going to have a great year ahead. And some of you I know will be coming to a couple of the events that we'll be having here in the next 12 days, and I'll have a little more to say. So thank you all very much.
Before you give your report, I have in my notes here, there's a representative from CNAC.
TNAC.
Well, Bill, I got notified yesterday that we hadn't been able to say thank you for all the work that you've done to allow us to do the work that we do for the Citizens Noise Advisory Committee. And so I wrote a note, eventually get to you. I received it yet. I wrote it yesterday. But I just wanted to let you know that as I've traveled with all of the groups that serve the noise committees and things like that, I'm always searched out by other cities around the world to say, how do you guys do this? How do you make things happen at your airport? I'm talking about Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Chicago, all of these places that are all screaming that they need help with their noise abatement and things like that. And they want to know, how did we do it? Well, I stand on the shoulders of giants, just as you do in your career. But it's like, well, the whole throughput is the fact that we have a great port of Portland, and we have a great staff at the airport, and it all comes right back to you. So I wanted you to know that we appreciate you, and we look forward to working with Curtis.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I might say the very first public meeting that I had was down in the commission room in the downtown building, and I walked in full of enthusiasm, and I'm excited, and the room is packed. It's full. And it turned out that every single person in the room was there to complain bitterly about airport noise, which is not a subject that I had known a lot about before getting the job, but I learned a lot about it. And the Citizen Noise Advisory Committee has done just a yeoman's effort. It's if you think about being on a committee, the subject of which is dealing with airport noise, which is very compelling and very difficult to deal with, those volunteers really are owed a tremendous debt of gratitude by the organization. And I think we've seen a lot of success also owing to the great relationship. So right back at you, I really appreciate all the work you do. Executive director's report. Yeah. Let's see. What a bittersweet moment. My last executive director report. No. Usually at this point, you see a rolling list of the port's safety. There we are, the safety champions for the month. And just as a reminder, as we do at every meeting, on the back table, you'll find an evacuation map. And in the event of emergency, the port staff will escort everyone in the room through the doors, down the hall to stairwell 1, and out to the gathering area next to the north parking lot, which is over here across the road from the central utility plant. And Stan, if you will, how about this month's safety message?
You bet. Thanks, Bill. Nearly 6 months ago, we restructured our safety committees within the individual business lines for purposes of empowering the employee base in the safety process. And we now have 9 functioning safety committees, which are aviation maintenance, police, fire, operations, construction, administration, navigation, marine, and our tenant safety advisory group, which is operated by our tenants. Today, I wanted to report out to the Commission on the progress that we've made with those committees. Since my last announcement, each committee now has a charter, a chair, a vice chair, and a recorder that takes minutes. Each of the committees meets monthly and regularly carries out the following functions. They review hazards and incidents that are reported in the previous month and make suggested improvements within their areas. They conduct quarterly walkthrough safety audits throughout the port operating areas. They attend training events such as the Governor's Occupational Safety and Health Conference. They inquire, educate, and bring forth safety issues in their respective areas for their committee's review. And they initiate and take corrective actions on their own or provide recommendations up to the Safety Steering Committee for review. To highlight just one example of the actions being taken by our safety committees, our Construction Engineering Safety Committee has made tremendous progress to improve safety within our tenant construction. And these tenant construction is something that is behind the wall and done by tenants without much oversight by the port previously. But the committee has made recommendations, implemented changes and new requirements, including meeting with the tenant's contractors prior to construction activities, and deliver the message of the port safety culture beyond our employee base. Ultimately, in our safety journey, we want to empower our employees to make the changes necessary to improve our safety practices. And the safety committees have been a great example of how we are accomplishing this goal. And in doing so, they are setting the example to the community we touch throughout all of our operations.
Great. Thank you, Stan. Well, the dredge season has started. The dredge Oregon is out on the river, as it is every year. I expect it's going to be very busy. I was just observing on the way out, looking at the river levels, which are still incredibly high. And typically that means there's just a lot more deposition of material that the dredge needs to remove. But we went out and had a great breakfast with our dredge crew before they shipped out. And it is, for those of you who have not taken advantage of the opportunity to go out and see the dredge, this would be a good year to do it. And I'm not sure when if they're upriver right now or.
No, we're down in the lower
Okay.
river, down by.
It'll move upriver and it'll take all day to get there, but it's just an incredible operation to watch and something that very few people actually see. But the role of the dredge is obviously vital in maintaining commercial navigation on the Columbia River. Last week, we had just a great event with the governor out at the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park to officially announce the development of the Amazon Distribution and Fulfillment Center. It's, it says 855,000 square feet, but that's actually times 2 because it's a double decker, which is it's unusual. The Amazon people were there and they're fully engaged. And I told them a story that I want to just relate here because I think it's an important one. We moved out to the airport. We created this facility for a whole variety of reasons, but in the course of doing that, we sold our downtown office building, which was owned by the general fund. And we took that money and we bought the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park, what is now the Troutdale Reynolds Industrial Park. We had some very good fortune because FedEx bought the large parcel right before the global economy went over the falls. Otherwise, the picture might be a little different today. So it was a great start, but I think I like the story because we basically took this kind of non-performing asset and turned it into something that really is central to our mission here in this region. And of course, it replaces the old Reynolds aluminum plant, which was built to support the war effort. It was built to provide aluminum to aircraft during the Second World War. And the Amazon people were so interested to hear this, they're going to find a way to build this into the culture of their organization, which they like to do at their various facilities. So it has been a terrific success. We're kind of running out of land, which is not something I imagined would happen by this stage. But when things are hot, they're hot. And, you know, if you follow the economy of the state today, the unemployment for the state was announced, and it's down further yet, down 3.7 to 3.6%. So I think we can expect to see more. So it was a very exciting event. The governor was obviously very pleased because Amazon is now saying 1,500 employees, although it's worth noting that they're building 2,500 parking spaces for employees. So you can just get a sense about where that's going. We're very excited to have them. On the marine side, the T6 Industry Leadership Committee will host their first meeting on June 28th. This is another exciting development. Having the chance to think anew about the life of Terminal 6 and what it ought to look like going forward is really kind of a rare opportunity, because the one thing it doesn't really need is an immense amount of new capital investment. It needs some, to be sure, but unlike the Port of Seattle, which is spending several $100 million to repurpose its Terminal 5, we're not in that same spot. By the same token, the maritime industry that took advantage of the opportunities at T6 in the past are just very different today than they were just a few short years ago. And so this committee, I think, is going to be central to finding a path forward at Terminal 6, and it's a great opportunity. Auto warehousing opened its new lot across from their existing facility, across from Terminal 6. It's a 19-acre storage and staging lot in Rivergate to help with the growth of export vehicles. That would be Ford, which is very exciting. The other great thing about this lot is that it's paved with a pervious surface. And I think, Commissioner, you were with us, you were as well. So we went out, took a look at it as they were finishing it up. Take a 5-gallon bucket of water, turn it like this, and the water literally disappears into the ground. And the importance of this is, A, it saves us the investment on stormwater, but the environmental benefits of this are just tremendous. And so they're up and operating, and it's a very exciting thing to see, because this export business is going to do nothing but grow here. So here comes terminal balancing, as we call it, at the end of Concourse E in late June. You can actually see the barriers going up right now. They're preparing for the staging and construction to begin. It's very exciting. These are the first, in fact, I can say this, in my nearly 17 years here at the port, we've not added a single gate. All of the growth has been accommodated by existing facilities. I remember Alaska Airlines telling us very early in my tenure that this is Bill Ayer, who I'm sure would eat these words today, that we had enough terminal capacity to last for another 30 years. And it turns out that's not actually true. So we'll be adding 6 new gates, which is really terrific to help accommodate the passenger growth that you referenced earlier. And it's great to see this happening. We're heading up on Friday to meet with Alaska to talk about the Terminal Core project as well. And that'll consume an awful lot of your time over the course of the next 5 to 7 years. We are also really excited to announce that Aeromexico has confirmed new daily year-round nonstop service between Mexico City and PDX effective December 1st, pending various government approvals. This service is an additional or nonstop service to Guadalajara on Volaris 4 days a week. And it's significant for a couple of reasons. First, Mexico City is a huge market. It's a massive metropolitan area. But it is rapidly becoming a gateway for not only Mexico, but for Central America and ultimately, I think, probably South America, which, despite being in the same hemisphere, is a very difficult place to get to. If you want to go to Buenos Aires, you want to go to Sao Paulo or Rio or any of the big important capitals in South America, it is an ordeal. And this, I think, eventually will help with that. The other reason it's significant is that Aeromexico is 51% owned by Delta Airlines. And the head of network planning at Aeromexico is a fellow that was at Northwest Airlines when they made the decision to fly Portland to Tokyo. And so he knows us very well and was very instrumental in developing this route. And I think the significance of this is that we now will have, at certain times of the year, 4 daily nonstops from Delta Airlines to various international destinations, and they're all hubs. And so we were kidding with Delta, sort of, that we were now a Delta hub. And that's a significant and important development for us because more really does mean more in this case. They have more density of service here, which means they have more maintenance capability here. It means they have a larger staff. It means a larger sales force. All of the things that are required to make these services successful. So a really great day, and I am confident that Aeromexico will do well. A couple of other observations about flights. Southwest is going to start flying from here to San Francisco. This is a new market for them, 3 times daily, which is a huge opening commitment. And I'm not sure what our daily numbers are in San Francisco now, but it's got to be huge because you've got Virgin, you've got United, you've got Alaska, which is Virgin now, so it's pretty significant. Alaska is going to start flying to Milwaukee, which is a new market for Alaska, and I'm sure this is probably one of the Embraer 175 flights. This is the plane that they'll be replacing the propeller-driven Q400s with originally, and it opens up exactly markets like this, Milwaukee and Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Very, very exciting. And then finally, Alaska is going to be flying to Baltimore starting June 6th on a daily summer seasonal. That's been an underserved market. We have nonstop service there now, but it's also very exciting. Around the community, the port is a local government sponsor of a $100,000 Business of Oregon grant to Verde to support the development of Cully Park, which is right up the way here. And a member of our PDX Community Advisory Committee, Verde is a local nonprofit that is working with the City of Portland Parks and Recreation in a public-private partnership to design and build Cully Park, which is a redevelopment project of a former landfill site into a community asset and green space. And I think particularly on the neighborhoods bordering the airport, open space and parks have always been a challenge and a problem. So this is really a terrific development. And we are inviting the community to register for a June 14 meeting on the disparity study, ensuring all businesses have equal opportunity to compete for our contracts. I think this is the 3rd one that we've done since I've been here. These are really important because when we do these disparity studies to determine access to port contracts, it gives us typically, if we find that there is in fact disparity, it gives us license to open up a wider range of opportunities. And we've taken great advantage of that in the past, and I'm confident that we'll be able to do that again. The next Hillsborough Master Plan update, Planning Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for June 19, and the PDX Community Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for June 21st. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions of Bill? With that, I'll call for a motion and a second for the approval of the Executive Director's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We're on the consent agenda, and question is, any of the commissioners want a presentation on any of the consent agenda items? We have one item, which is the City of Molal's Enterprise Zone designation. Call for a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Keith Levitt, you have our first agenda item.
Good morning. This item requests approval to sell Trip Lot 10 to Clayco for the development of an industrial development. So Clayco is a full-service real estate firm providing architecture, engineering, design, build, and construction services. They're one of the largest developers in the country, and this is an interesting deal from the standpoint of this is Clayco's first investment in the Portland metropolitan region, and that's great. We want to have a diversified mix of investors and developers in our industrial space. This is also going to be a speculative warehouse development, which will be the first we've ever had in Trip. And I think that'll go very well with really the anchors that you have now with the fulfillment center with Amazon and then the FedEx Ground regional hub. So this is a really good next step for us at Trip. With us today from Clayco is John Vincero, Vice President of the Western Region. John, thank you very much for being here and for flying here to be with us today, and to present the item is Isaac Barrow.
Thank you, Keith, and good morning, commissioners. As Keith mentioned, this is Clayco's first venture into the market, and so I thought it'd be helpful to provide an overview of the company prior to reviewing the proposed development and the sale terms. Clayco is somewhat unique in being a vertically integrated full-service real estate company. They provide a full suite of services, including architecture through Forum, their subsidiary, as well as design build through Ventana, and they're even able to source concrete internally for specific projects through their other subsidiary, Concrete Strategies. CRG is Clayco's development group and has an impressive and balanced portfolio. Nationwide, about a third of their portfolio is public development, including a lot of housing for universities. About a third of it is commercial and office, and the remaining third is industrial. This balanced portfolio is one of the reasons that CRG was actually one of the few development firms that remained profitable throughout the 2008 recession. Their nationwide portfolio includes over $10 billion in projects spanning 5,000 acres of land and 10 million square feet. As Keith mentioned, one of the exciting things about this being Clayco's first venture in the region is that they bring with them their extensive client portfolio. CRG is developed for numerous clients, including Pfizer, Coleman, as you can see in the graphic, the distribution center in Gardner, Kansas. They've built over 8 Amazon facilities to date, though that number is likely to grow in the future. They've built Walgreens facilities. In addition, they've built build-to-suit manufacturing facilities like the SKF one featured in St. Louis, Missouri. The lot proposed for sale is Lot 10, which is directly across the street from the FedEx facility, north and west of the Amazon fulfillment center. The proposed building is approximately 340,000 square feet and will be designed to accommodate between 1 and 3 individual tenants, and will be a good balance to the existing large distribution facilities in the park currently. Here's a preview of the design, and as you can see, it will be a nice complement to the existing Class A industrial facilities within Trip. The sale property is approximately 18.7 acres. The sale is based on a valuation of $6.50 per square foot, and the sale will be just under $5.25 million. Earnest money of $100,000 will be deposited by CRG following approval of the signature of the PSA. They are represented in the transaction by Newmark Knight-Frank, and a brokerage commission of about $148,000 will be paid in accordance with the court's commission policy. On schedule, following approval and signature of the PSA, there will be a brief due diligence period prior to financial close. Construction of the facility is expected to take 12 months, with completion in the third quarter of 2018. With that, I welcome any questions you may have and ask for the approval of the executive director's recommendation.
Any questions? Absence, any questions?
I do have. I'm sorry. I'm curious, and I don't know, Mr. Barlow, if you can identify it, but some of the markets where these developments have taken place have been in sort of large urban areas, very diverse areas. Any idea of the practice or experience of working with minority contractors or small businesses in those areas?
Generally, the decision on contracting isn't made this early in the process. I'm not sure if Mr. Venchero wants to speak to the experience.
Yeah, I'm more
specific contracting
concerned about just past
about this
practice.
area.
Kind of, you do what you believe in.
Good morning, John Bianchero, representing CRG and Clayco. Oh, thank you very
Well,
much. I'm proud to say the owner of our company, Bob Clark, is in charge of the new Obama Library in Chicago. And we're making a strong effort to hire totally minority employees for that project. And if you look at our website, we made a valiant effort at that in a lot of the Chicago, St. Louis, and our major markets. Mm-hmm. And it happens more in the major markets than like in the Fresnos and the Central Valleys where we've developed. But to answer your question, I think we've done a good job so far. It's a continued process that we're working on.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. I entertain a motion and a second for the approval of the executive director's recommendation. Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. And I want to compliment the Port of Portland, the people here, Isaac, Don, the whole organization has been terrific to work with. And I work all over the United States, but they've been very informative, they've been accommodating, and they've helped us working with the community of Troutdale and what have you. I'm very proud of these people. They do a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Vince, could you come forward for the next agenda item, please?
So good morning. We have an item here to request approval to award a public improvement contract for Airport Way and Frontage Road rehabilitation here at PDX. The last time this work occurred was in 2000. And for Frontage Road, the western 9,500 feet was reconstructed, and the eastern 2,200 feet was reconstructed in 2000. And these roadways are now in need of rehabilitation and hopefully provide 20 years of life for this work. And I'll have Chris Edwards present the item.
Thank you, Vince, and good morning.
Good morning.
Today I'm requesting approval to award a construction contract to K&E Excavating for the Airport Way Frontage Road project in the amount of nearly $2.8 million. This aerial shows the overall project location, which is here at PDX on Airport Way as well as Frontage Road. It entails basically a mill and inlay of those roadways on Frontage Road, Airport Way, as well as a turn lane from Airport Way onto 82nd. There's also some full depth reconstruction that has to occur on the Frontage Road, and then right here at our interface between ODOT right-of-way and ours, there's a 50-foot section that is in pretty disrepair, so we need to reconstruct that. Work will mostly be done at night, so we don't disrupt operations here, and there will be some weekend work as well. Here's a couple photos showing the condition of the pavement today. As I just mentioned, we have a section next to the ODOT right-of-way that needs to be reconstructed, and that is shown here on your left. And then on your right is just the typical pavement out there that needs to have that milling done. Here's the overall project schedule. The item bold on your left is what is before you today, but this project will be completed by early October of this year. Here's the overall budget and funding. So K&E's contract before you today Support staff, contracted services, that's for things like the engineering that occurred in-house, inspection, testing, project management, things of that nature. Our contingency is 10%, which is appropriate given the complexity of the project, and it is funded out of the core costs. Staff requests approval executive director's recommendation.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a motion and a second for the approval of the executive director's recommendation. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. Motion passes. Hints don't go away.
Okay.
All right.
2 more. So this next item, request a public improvement contract for the runway 321 stormwater infrastructure and pavement improvements. This is for the also known as the crosswind runway. It's a runway that we use anywhere between 3 to 5% of the time when the wind conditions require it. So it doesn't get used all the time, but when the winds are there, we're glad that we have access to it. The pavement needs some work, but there are also the drainage outside the runway, safety areas, creating some ponding and a wildlife attractant. So we want to get 2 things done with this contract, and I'll let Eric present that.
Thank you, Vince. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm here to request approval to award a public improvement contract to K&E Excavating for runway 321 stormwater infrastructure and pavement improvements at PDX in the amount of around $6.7 million. The map showing project limits is as shown. Scope of work, as Vince mentioned, stormwater improvement upgrades on the south end of the crosswind runway, as well as the west side. We're doing a mill and inlay and overlay on the south end, south half of the runway. We're doing a mill and inlay on the north half. We are also reconstructing the taxiway centerline lights, crossing the runways at taxiway Charlie, Bravo, and Mike. We're also doing a mill and inlay at taxiway Kilo near taxiway Whiskey, kind of where the mouse is shown, and abandoning existing utility on the crossing of taxiway Foxtrot and Charlie. The last 2 items of scope are emergency repairs. We got hit hard by the last rainy season and needed to incorporate these repairs in this existing project. Schedule is as shown. We started the project in September of 2015, and substantial completion is anticipated this October. Budget is summarized as shown. Funding is from the Airline Cost Center, as well as a grant from FAA through the Airport Improvement Program for the amount of approximately $2.5 million. Just wanted to bring your attention, the contingency representing about 16% of the project cost is a little bit higher than normal, but given the circumstances of the site, our excavation requirements, and the associated risks, we have a little bit higher contingency for this particular project. Staff recommends approval of the executive director's recommendation.
Are there any questions for Eric?
One quick.
Oops, I defer to you.
Thank you very much. Quick one. What does it involve to get a DBE certification? How difficult is it? Those 2 questions very quickly.
I'm not sure I know the answer of what it takes to get a DBE certification.
I can speak to that. Sure. So it's a very involved process. Actually, what happens is there's an examination of the owner's personal assets and their financials. but it's a very involved process where the individual needs to apply and then be reviewed and then be certified. We do help. We have a mentor protege program as well as a small business program, as you know, and we do help individuals who need such help getting that certification.
Yeah, the whole purpose behind that, I would assume, to ascertain that the entity is disadvantaged, minority based.
Yes.
Is that what it is? And this
Yeah,
particular.
yes, that's a great point. There are limits as to how much an individual can have in assets and income in order to comply with DBE requirements.
So that is why they did not get this contract, although they came pretty up there in terms of bidding price.
I think that's a different question than yeah.
Yeah, I can speak to that. K&E Excavating was the apparent second low bid. Kodiak Pacific was the apparent low at the time bids opened. They submitted a certification that did not meet our DBE requirements. And we had a debrief with them afterwards, explaining to them why that was the case. And they understood. So this award is going to the second low.
I had just a follow up to the first question, and it's more an education point for me. The Airport Way Frontage Road project had a small business participation goal. This had a DBE goal. Can you sort of explain what differentiates which one of those would be?
Absolutely. So for any project that receives federal funding, we have disadvantaged business enterprise goals that we must meet. So the disparity study that we'll hear about next month informs that process, but the road project will not be funded with federal monies. So therefore, it's our own initiative, which is the small business participation.
And I would assume that there are entities that fall into both of those categories.
Yes, indeed.
Right. Okay.
That's right. It's a harder bar, as I mentioned, to meet the DBE requirements, but there is a lot of commonality between those two pools.
Great. Thank you.
Any other?
I have one question. If we didn't do this runway, does that mean it would be unsafe for planes to land, or we'd have to divert them if the winds were a certain direction?
Yeah, that's correct. The pavement portion of this project is a pavement rehab. It's a 10-year lifespan on the current paving components of this project. In order to maintain our asset, we have to do this work. Otherwise, it does become a safety and operations problem.
Any other questions? All right. I'll call for a motion and a second for the approval of the executive director's recommendation.
So moved.
Second? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes.
Okay, we'll stay here.
Yes. Final agenda item.
Our last one here. Request approval to award a public improvement contract for berth rehabilitation and site improvements at Terminals 4 and Terminals 6. It's primarily focused on berth 410, berth 411, which Eric will identify, and there'll be some structural repairs that serve the long-term maintenance needs of the berth. But we also have some building work and some backflow assembly work near the Terminal 4 administration building. So it's a variety of work that we're getting done that we're putting all in one contract.
Great. Thank you, Vince. Today I'm requesting approval to award a public improvement contract to Stellar J Corporation for berth rehabilitation and site improvements work in the amount of about $2.6 million at T4 and T6. Map of the project area is shown. I'll use my mouse to circle where we're talking about. Berths 410 and 411 are this big rectangle on the Willamette River. We're doing structural repairs and a pavement overlay there. This is the Kinder Morgan berth. It's a 24/7 operation, so we're going to be challenged by the tenant's use of this facility. We're also going to be demolishing Building 521. This building is currently being used by port maintenance for equipment and materials. Everything's been pulled out of the building. We've had to demolish it just because it contains hazardous materials and it can no longer be maintained in its present condition. Project also includes timber pile treatment at berths 410, 416, and 607 up here on the Columbia T6. Schedule is as shown. We started in July of 16, and we anticipate substantial completion to be achieved this November. Budget is summarized as shown. Funding is from the general fund. The contingency for this particular project is at 13%, which again is a little bit higher than normal, but given the risk profile of the project and the coordination required to work around Kinder Morgan's 24/7 operations, it's going to be required, as well as the impending weather restrictions. Most of our on-deck work for the berth 411 work is weather dependent, so it'll be challenging for the project team to accomplish that work. Staff requests approval of the executive director's recommendation.
Any questions?
Quick one, but just I noticed that the small business set aside for this is 7%. The prior proposals had been 10. Can you speak just a little bit as to why that variation?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it. Cindy might be able to explain it better. Okay, what we do about the time that final design is achieved is we take the sum total of the project components based on dollar value. We work with our small business coordinator to figure out who in the area can perform that work, and we sum up the work based on that dollar value and come up with a percentage that we feel that the small business community can achieve on that particular project.
Commissioner, next month, Kimberly will be coming and talking about our disparity study and our program, and I'll make sure that she addresses that issue so that you have a sense of how she does that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yeah, it does. I know that the global numbers within the port, there's some areas where you're overperforming and others where there's a gap, and I'm just trying to figure out, opportunistically, do you look at projects like this to help narrow some of those gaps?
Yeah, I think that's a good point about a lot of it just depends on what the availability is of the service in the market. We struggle on rental cars, for example, trying to find those business opportunities. So we identify what's available and who can potentially be involved, and that's what Kimberly's group is working on, is trying to find folks that are willing to participate in that market.
And we have a pretty good sense about what's available, because in order to qualify for any of this, you've got to register, right? You've got to meet us halfway, and so we have a database of everybody who's eligible. So that'll give you a sense about what's available in the marketplace for any particular type of projects. And the excavating project is a very good example, because there's a large supply of MSWB contractors available for that kind of work.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion and a second for the approval of the executive director's recommendation.
So move.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thanks, Vince.
So is the procedure here to have a motion and a second to adjourn, or do we just adjourn? All right, we are going to adjourn. And at 11 o'clock, the TSCC